What's happening, YouTube? Teddy Rocksteady in the building. Today I'm going to detail sampling and chopping in the TR1000. I had a comment that was made today earlier asking me to detail how I do slices, how I edit, how I put this together. So today we're not making a beat. This is just an instructional on slicing and a few other little tips and tricks in the TR in case you haven't picked up on it. So here in the generator, I have an empty pattern. I mean, we're not going to make a beat, but there's nothing loaded in here. This is basically dead. Before I did this, when I cleared these pads, I realized there's a quick trick some people don't know. This shift button is basically your best friend on the machine. It gives you access and speed. So we're going to hit the shift button here in generator. And you can see it's off. If you hold this shift, you know, there's 3,000, almost 3,000 sounds in here when you get it. If you want to quickly get through these sounds, if you hold this shift button while you scroll, I'm already down to 1,000 with just a few turns. So this shift button helps you go through this menu really, really quick. I'm going to leave that off because I'm basically going to put the sample that I put in here, right here on the end on the ride cymbal pad, which is number 10. And that is how this machine is set up. There's 10 tracks here. And, you know, most basic TR users know there's 2 tracks available on each of these. You can program the A and B on these separately. There is a way to do that. But today is basically strictly sampling, aside from a few little tips and tricks like this little scroll deal. So we're just going to exit out of there, leave that empty. I'm going to open the sampler. Today's source material comes from DJ Kirk State. It's a needle drop that was on his Patreon page. Shout out to DJ Kirk State. I was digging through one of those folders last night and I found this sample that I'm going to work with, and this is preliminary. So now that I'm set to sampling, I already had it set to external in because that's what I use, but you do have different options here. You know, track, you can record an instrument with the sample and almost like resample back through the machine. And even though this sample was in file format, first of all, I chopped it down to a smaller piece in my MPC. Having a sample editor external from this is invaluable before you bring that in here. You only have so much space available in here to sample. This is not a sampler. People who have been comparing this machine to MPCs or SP1200s, it's really not a fair comparison. That's not what this is. This is a drum machine that can sample. And you're very limited on what you can do with your sampler on this machine. So I get everything into a workable chop, 2 to 4 bars, and I bring it in, and then I slice it in here and put it on the pads and play it back in a different order or whatever I want to do with it. You all know the deal on that. But the basics on this is, first we're just going to check the level. Level looks good. So we're going to start with the sample. You all know this. We're done. I might have cut that off a little bit. I just hit exit. And even if I didn't, this is a chance to show you. You can cancel if you want to keep that sample, or you can just hit OK. And that sample's gone already. So we're going to redo that. I want to have a little bit more tail there. All right. Then we normalize. Get our levels up. Zoom in a little bit. Like to get that as tight as possible. And then to play the sample back, once you put it in here, I also realize a lot of information is not in the manual in terms of sampling. So that's another reason why I made this video. To play this back, it's a copy button. So I have it truncated where I want it. I'm going to chop that now into the actual slice. Or not the slice, but the entire chop that we just recorded in. My apologies, it's been a long day. So now we have the sample loaded in here, but it's not assigned anywhere. It's not on this pad yet, as you know. So we're going to write and assign that. Put that in my user folder. Enter. Now this name. This is another little trick I picked up in case you didn't know this. You have to rename this. Just leave your highlighter on the very first letter and say you want to wipe all that out. You want to do it quick. You don't know the way to do that. Again, shift button is your best friend. Shift button, scroll, gone. And I'm just going to name this Q. And then we want to assign it. You can just push that button. I want to put it there. And we're going to execute. And now we get to the fun part. I already know that what I wanted to do with this because I time stretched it in MPC already. I already know what I wanted to do with this. So this is going to be 85 beats per minute. Before you slice, before you set slices, if you want your slices to stay on beat with what you're making, set the BPM before you slice. So we're going to do this. We're going to set it to 85. If I go back through here, BPM sync on. Now we're good to go. Now we have our sample all ready to go. Now comes the slicing part. This is probably the most important part because I don't think it tells you this in the manual. Hit enter. Select auto slice. This in particular was asked for in a comment. Hit your auto slice. I already know I want to slice this into 4 pieces. So it's 4 is selected here. Current slices will be lost. There were no slices. It was just the entire sample. We're not going to lose the sample, but it's going to put 4 slices in. And there's our 4 slices. I hope you can see this. I know my video is not the best. I'm not set up for this. I'm very, very amateur. But there's 4 slices here. Now, to play these back, because we want to edit these, we want to tighten these up. You know, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can, if you hit this number 10 key, where this is assigned, it's just going to play what's highlighted. And it stops there. But you want to play the second slice. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can play it like that. Use C2 to move your selection back and forth. This is also something you can do later on when you do TR record and you put that in. And that basically fills it up. And again, you know, it's BPM sync, so that slice is keeping perfect time with the machine. We're going to take that out. But you want to step through this while you're editing, almost like an MPC, how you can play the pads when you play your slices. You can play your pads and you can set all your start and end points for every chop. This is how you can do this in the TR, in case you didn't know this. This play mode, once you have your slices, you hold that down, it's like a shift. And then you have 4 different options down here. that play mode is related to. You hit slice, and the 4 slices that we have are on these 4 pads right now. And you can play those and edit those at will by just doing that. You can also play that and play this in while you're recording an instrument record. TR record limits you to step writing. So as soon as you hit TR record, there's no real time going on. You're writing on the grid then. You're basically writing on these steps. So to edit this now, so the other part of this, as you may or may not know, I am basically a sample-based producer. I have zero musical talent. I can't play any instruments. So I do sample. You have to be aware in this machine because it's not a sampler. And I just ran into this because I sample a lot. And I had to start a new project because of this. If you go into, I think it's utility, there's sample slot right here. Every time you create a slice or sample into the machine, or even just bring something out of your user folder, every time you put a sample on a track, it takes 1 slot. If you slice that into 4 pieces, this track will take 5 slots. Now, the way that this machine is set up, you have projects. You have 16 available projects, you know, in terms of the memory of this machine. Within those projects, and I may be off on these numbers, so don't crucify me in the video if I get these numbers wrong. But within those projects, you have, each project has 116 or 128 patterns. And you can also save 100 and some kits as well in one project, and you have 16 projects. So there's a lot of memory in this machine. But the problem with this, again, because it's not a sampler, it's a drum machine, you have only 500 slots per project. So if I do 5 songs, and the last track that I made, I believe the last video that I made, the beat that I was putting together, the arrangement, when I finished, I ended up using 37 slots total, just for one pattern, basically. That was all the samples I used. There's 37 slots because I micro chop, as most of you do as well. And again, because this is not a sampler, you're limited to what you can do. Well, within Project 1, I had probably about 12 or 13 completed tracks that I had done in the first project folder. And I started getting errors on my screen that SMP was full. And I didn't know what that meant. So I went on the internet, I scoured the manual, There's a brief little section in the back about the SMP memory. And then as I was adding samples and slices, I was looking at these counts. And it was helping me understand these counts a little bit more in terms of what the sample slot actually is. So when I decided, I said, well, I'm going to just start a new project and see, do you get 500 per, or is it 500 for the 16 projects? It is 500 per that you have. And you can delete things and you can back things up into other sources. I don't believe there's a way to render on this machine either. Someone asked me that the other day, and I couldn't find a way in this machine to export a WAV or MP3. As you can probably see off to the left here, I have a Tascam, outboard. This is how I mix down. I never do anything in the box. I absolutely hated the way that MPCs did it. It's great in terms of being able to add effects and VSTs and this and that, but I don't like mixing inside of a machine, especially like that. And as you may or may have not noticed, and I may have even mentioned it, I would much prefer to sample into this machine versus dragging a file in, and I would like to run it through the machine itself to bring the sample in to warm it up a little bit. And we're sampling that warmth as well when we bring it into the machine like that. So I don't drag or drop. The only thing I've ever dragged or dropped into this machine are the EA ski drums because I didn't want them modified. He absolutely had those perfect. So those were dragged and dropped through the app. And then there were other drum kits that I already had that I had chopped up breaks and chopped up drums. I dragged those over as well because they were already processed. But anything that I work with in the MPC in terms of getting it into workable sizes and get my ideas worked out, because that machine still helps me lay out what I want to do on the pads as well because of the way that they operate. So having an external sampler in tandem with this Roland, I believe most people, especially if you're SP404 fans, I believe that machine would be an incredible companion to this, but I don't have that machine. I have this MPC 1 Plus. So in any case, I hope this video helped you guys out today. This was very crucial in terms of finding out the utility. And if you want to go back to regular play mode, just hit that and turn the slice off. I have noticed this, and I hope Roland changes this. It seems like you lose your slices when you turn it on or off. I mean, they come back, but you can't see that it was sliced. So there's a couple things I hope they update and they change in this. For people like me, I would love to have more slots so I didn't have to start projects, but it looks like I'm going to be backing up every couple projects that I make because of how many samples I use. Again, thanks for rocking with me. My apologies. I did not intend to make a boring video today, so I hope that most of you got some value out of this. It's been a very busy day for me. I'm a 9-to-5er. I'm not a pro musician, and none of my advice is professional. Feel free to correct me, but don't be nasty. And that's all I got for y'all today. Peace.